Alrighty. Hello, everyone that's just joining. We're waiting a couple minutes before we get started. We're gonna let a few more people in. Hello, everyone joining. Waiting a couple more minutes, and then we are going to go ahead and start it. Waiting, people joining. See lots of faces. Hello, everyone. We have someone from Wisconsin. Hello. Where is Chicago? I'm sure there's lots of those there. You guys can say hi to us in the chat box. If you have any questions, you can feel free to leave them there. And then I'll get them answered for you guys. Alrighty, people still joining, so let's give them a couple seconds. Hello. Wait, I didn't see that one. That one was pretty far. Someone was from New Lenox. There was a different state in there though. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started, everyone. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll go ahead and get started. People will still be getting let in as we go throughout tonight. So we're so excited. I'm so excited to welcome one of my favorite chefs, Chef Jupiter, who is our newest top winner. Yay, so exciting. If you guys missed that, you need to make sure you go and check that out. Also, the chef of Anime and Frontier are some of our favorite Chicago restaurants. And today we're gonna be learning how to make some gumbo, traditional style gumbo by Chef Jupiter, Louisiana chef. And we're gonna be in the kitchen. The recipe is in the chat. You can find it on Mariano's blog as well. So you guys can go and grab the recipes. We're kicking off Mardi Gras. I'm excited. Hopefully I do not mess up, but Chef Jupiter is gonna take us step by step. I've got some gumbo ready. I've got some grill. I've got my ingredients. So super excited. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the chat box below. I'm joined by my Mariano's team, Amanda Puck, as everyone may already know, and David Hernandez. So you'll see them throughout the time as well. Any questions, again, you guys can just leave in the chat box and then I'll make sure to get those answered. And I'll turn it over to Chef to go ahead and start us off.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Happy Mardi Gras season. We've been celebrating here over at Anime for the last couple of weeks. And so we're going to take it all the way to Mardi Gras Day, the first Tuesday of March. And so you can make gumbo a bunch of different ways. I grew up in New Orleans and different relatives make it different restaurants make it different. But this one over at Anime is a little bit of everything. And so chicken, some andouille sausage, some shrimp, some crab meat, and some crawfish as well. And so I like to keep it, I like to make it that way. That's the way my grandmother made it. I'm not a big fan of the chicken and sausage gumbo, but that too is something that's very popular down in New Orleans. And so I know some people are saying they don't see the recipe, but I'm sure they'll get that to you. Some ingredients that we have in front of me that you won't necessarily see right here, but we have some okra, we have some andouille sausage, I have some chicken here, we have some shrimp. One of the most important things of all of New Orleans cooking is what they call the Trinity, or the Holy Trinity. And so that is onion, celery, and bell pepper. You'll see that in, as the base seasoning for many, many recipes in Cajun and Creole cooking. We have some garlic as well, some Cajun spice. Now, Cajun spice is a bunch of different ones. Pick the one that you like the most, but also be conscious of they vary in salt content. So I try to go with something that's lower in sodium for a Cajun spice blend so that you can add the salt as you need be. Bay leaves and fresh thyme. Fresh thyme is important. You can't substitute dry thyme. They do taste completely different. But if dry thyme is all you have, just only use a very little bit of dry thyme compared to whatever the recipe's calling for. All right, so let's get started. The most important part of a gumbo is the roux. It's also the most difficult part of making a gumbo. And so roux is just oil or butter and flour. And so what you do is you cook this very slowly while you're stirring it on a low heat. And as you stir it, your flour will start to brown. And you want to get it to where it's like a little bit darker than peanut butter. But because it is flour and starch, it will want to sink to the bottom and it burns extremely fast. And so I'll give you a couple little pointers. You can take a sheet tray, cookie sheet of flour and put it in a 350-degree oven. Let the flour toast. The flour do the same process. It'll start to get brown and things like that. And then you will whisk that into oil on the pot in a pan that'll shorten the time of you actually standing over the stove stirring your roux. So that's a little New Orleans.
How long does the average that roux take to make?
45 minutes or so. You know, with me being in a restaurant and also impatient, I tend to push my roux very fast. So I'll cook a roux on high heat and I'll take my chances. But I lose, you know, sometimes you still burn them. I burned a roux earlier today when I was making this one. So it happens, but low and slow, kind of like barbecue is the way for roux. And so once you have your roux to your desired color, and roux, you know, if you do a lighter roux, that too has a use as a thickener for soups. But with this brown roux, you'll find in New Orleans every single, you know, etouffee or gumbo. Some people even roux based their jambalaya, but many uses. After our roux is brown, we're going into a stock pot, preferably something with a heavy bottom. If you use a pan that is too thin, a pot that is too thin, you'll find that you're having issues with it sticking at the bottom. And that'll also make your gumbo scorch.
Someone asked how long would it be for it to toast in the oven?
You know, it depends. Like, it's one of those things where your oven is very different than my oven. And if I give you a time and you set your timer for it and you come back as burnt, then you're going to be mad at me. And so what I suggest you do is set shorter timers. Set it for 10 minutes, check it, you know, give it a little shake, give the pan a little bit of a shake, set yourself another 10-minute timer, check it again, and then you'll kind of gauge and see, you know, electric oven versus gas oven and things like that will have an effect on it. But typically, you should be able to get that done in about 20, 25 minutes. But that's without standing over the stove and stirring it. You know, traditional roux, you will have to stand over it and stir it the entire time. All right,
hey guys, a lot of people are saying they can't see Chef Jupiter. If you want to see him, you actually have to click his name and then you'll have to spotlight him on your own screen. We can't control who your screen sees. So you have to actually click his name and then you'll spotlight him. And we're going to leave the link again in the chat box. Everyone keeps messaging, which is okay. And then we're also going to follow up with it on our Instagram page. And if you go to onlyatmarianosblog.com, you'll be able to find the recipe as well. And there's the link again. We're going to keep reposting it. Sorry, Chef.
No problem at all. All right, so I've added my roux that is already complete to the stock pot. And to that, I'm adding my Trinity, which is our celery, bell pepper, and onion. And Trinity, depending on how you're using it, right? So for gumbo, because it's gonna be cooked for a long time, you can dice it, it'll break down, no problems. But I like to puree my Trinity in a food processor. And you can make either little ice cubes or little cups of Trinity. And when you're making soups and things like that, you can just pop them out as kind of like a bouillon cube. And it makes it very easy and convenient for you to have kind of like a ready-made seasoning that you can add to your foods. All right, so our Roux and our Trinity is working right now. Now you still be careful during this time because your roux is still not out of the danger zone of being burnt. You won't get there really until you start to add liquid. But you also want to start to caramelize your vegetables within the roux. All right, to this, I'm gonna add some garlic and some andouille sausage. If you don't want spice, you can go to just kind of a regular smoked sausage, but you do want to get some smoke flavor.
Someone asked, what's the difference between gumbo and etoufe?
Etoufe is normally made with a singular, not normally, it's made with a singular protein. So you'll have shrimp etoufe or crawfish etoufe, chicken etoufe, whereas gumbo is normally a mixture of different proteins. But both are having, both have a brown roux, about the same color that you're trying to achieve. Let's see if you all can see this. All right, let's see. All right, so
Ooh,
you're getting your veg is starting to really go, and that roux has coated all your vegetables. All right,
someone
so from
said,
here,
sorry, no, go
that?
ahead. Someone said,
No,
doesn't etoufe have tomato in it?
Etoufe?
Yes.
Oh, I don't put tomato in etoufe. The only thing that tomato is supposed to be in is shrimp Creole.
Okay.
But like some folks, they say that the more Creole gumbo, because even some people put tomato in gumbo, and it not me, but some people. But they say that the Creole, because you have more of the Spanish influence and the Italian influence in those folks, they had a little bit more tomato in their recipes. Whereas the Cajun and the Acadians was more like brown and a little bit more heat.
Someone asked, do you have a specific Cajun or Creole spice that you would recommend?
Well, we make it here. So I'm a little bit biased.
A lot of it biased. Basically, you guys can go find one at your local Mariano's.
Yeah, it's probably easier for me to tell you the ones that I don't particularly care for, because some of them are a little heavier with dry time, and I think it just overpowers the whole mix.
Okay.
But try some different ones. I still buy different Cajun spices when I see them because I'm interested to see what's out there.
Okay. They said, how many does it serve? How many does this recipe serve? And yes, he does have two restaurants here in Chicago. One is called Frontier, and the other is Anime Tavern. And he is our most recent top winner as well.
Well, I guess it depends on how hungry your hospital is. But yeah, I mean, you'll get 4 servings or so. 5, That's enough. It's
What
a
did
good
you
bit.
just add in, chef? They just asked.
Okra.
Okra.
Yeah, we added okra. And so some folks don't like okra. The way I cook okra and gumbo is that a lot of people don't know it's in there because I cook it until it dissolves, basically.
Yeah, I've had the gumbo at NMA, and I honestly didn't know that there was gumbo in there until you just started. But I honestly didn't know.
Yeah, it's kind of when I know that the gumbo is ready for proteins, because you don't want to add your chicken or your shrimp or anything other than the sausage and the crab. You don't want to add any of that too soon, because what happens is, and this is what the number one mistake of making gumbo is, people don't wait. They just don't give enough time, and you start adding all your stuff and your flour from your roux still hasn't cooked off yet, meaning you still kind of taste it. It's still gritty on the tongue. And so that just takes time, even in an hour session, we won't complete a gumbo in 1 hour. You need more like 3.
So all day.
Some chicken stock. You can do chicken stock. You can do seafood stock. You can do vegetable stock. And when you add your broth or your stock, you want to make sure that you stir your gumbo, right? Because it's going to make your roux and the veggies clump up. And so you want that to dissolve down. And it'll avoid you having a piece that sticks to the bottom of your pan or your pot. You can add your aromatics, so some bay leaves, your fresh thyme.
Someone said, does it clump because of the temperature? I'm letting you answer.
Yes.
And then someone asked, is there a difference between Creole seasoning and Cajun seasoning?
Yes. Probably not much. But yeah, you'll probably get a little bit more red spices, meaning paprika and possibly some more cayenne in the Creole. But for most people, they're pretty interchangeable. Although, the food is very different if you travel down to New Orleans. All right, fresh thyme hack.
Fresh thyme hack. Let me get my time.
All right, so you already know this, Amari.
I'm gonna act like I don't.
All right, so thyme, whenever you get fresh thyme, you'll have these stems, and you want to obviously remove the stem because the stems don't cook down. And so you always want to de-stem because you don't want to damage the leaves either. So you always want to de-stem your vegetables. I mean, not your vegetables, your herbs, going the opposite way of which you're facing. So these leaves are facing up. I want to de-stem just like this. And you see, come right off. I still have nice whole leaves in my hand that aren't all damaged and bruised. You can't really see that unless the camera's going. But herbs are very delicate. All of them are. And so when you see people like chopping them and you hear that, you're actually bruising those herbs. And so it's not a good thing to just chop the heck out of them.
We don't want to damage our herbs. We want to keep all the flavor so it actually gets in our food.
Yeah. All right, so right now, with everything that I have in, I'm gonna add my thyme in there.
So right now you've added your okra, you've added your Holy Trinity, we've got our roux in there, got some stock, and now we're adding some thyme.
Yeah. And so we want to start to let this, we'll add a little bit of our hot sauce too.
Hot sauce. It specifically said Louisiana hot sauce, so we're not biased to that one.
Yeah, right. I'm not a big like I love spicy food, but I think that spice should always have flavor, and not just obnoxious heat. So Louisiana hot sauce, I think, kind of crosses all the boxes in my book of, like some nice garlic flavor and some good heat on it.
Someone says, Chef, can you tell us what it smells like in your kitchen right now?
Right now,
to the smell.
Right now, it smells like completed gumbo because I have some here that I cheated and I made earlier. So it smells really good. Every time I make gumbo at the restaurants, it makes me think of being home, like this is what I grew up. I grew up with these smells.
I've cheated as well, but I'm actually really ready to eat. But I waited and I'm waiting and I'm waiting.
And Roux, making a Roux part, I'm not a fan of that smell still to this day. It kind of smells like burnt popcorn.
That's when you did it right.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, that is very true actually. Because a burnt Roux will let you know very fast. It's gonna be smoking like pretty much like white, like puffy smoke. And it's gonna smell pretty bad.
It smells bad is the key to gumbo. Let's see if we have any more questions in the chat that I may have missed. Someone says, are you cooking over low or high heat?
Right now, my heat is high. I have the heat high. I want to bring it up to a boil, get everything rolling, and then I'll reduce it down some and just kind of let it work. And really, I don't add chicken until my okra is very smashable. Okay. And because chicken too early is going to leave you with like really, really shredded up chicken. You won't even know that it's chicken after the gumbo is actually really cooked. Shrimp going at the very end, as well as crawfish. And yeah, that's it. Rice. Rice matters. Long grain white rice is the way to go. When you get to more like aromatic rice, like basmatis and jasmines, although I love them, I like a lot of rice, but for gumbo, you need just long grain white rice.
Man, we've got some people in here. We got people from Hawaii. We have people from Vegas. We have people from Toronto.
Nice.
Hello, everyone. We have plenty of Chicago people, of course. We got Detroit. Scottsdale. Waukegan. Chef, what was it like being on top? I think that's what everyone's tending to do, or at least me.
Chopped. It was a lot of fun. It was the time goes by fast, and it's it's a lot of nerves. I think in the first couple, the first round at least, and then when you once you start cooking, then it's kind of you kind of relax some. But yeah, the time flies.
It looked like it was a lot of fun. It just looks so, it's like so much more relatable when you see someone, you're like, oh, I actually know this person. Like, oh, they actually won, succeeded. Okay, it can't be that bad.
No, it's not that bad. I was the furthest away from the pantry though, so I was a little worried about timing and stuff like that. But yeah, I was running through that.
Alrighty. So how were the judges, everyone says?
The judges were cool. They were chefs that I was familiar with. So it was cool to meet them. Yeah, they weren't too arrogant, weren't too mean. They probably could be a little meaner, but yeah, they were cool.
Someone says, does it matter if you make it with the roux with oil or butter? Great question, actually.
Right. It does not. If you make it without butter, if you make it with oil, then it has it's more shelf stable,
Let's see. Lots of questions, lots of comments, lots of people here. So someone says, fresh okra is delicious, especially when fried. However, I tried it frozen just once and never again because it was mostly very slimy. Is there a way to remove the slime enough to be usable? So what I will say is that I've eaten at his restaurants plenty of times, and I never knew that there was actually okra in the gumbo. It is not slimy at all. And then, yeah, I could not even tell with the way it is cooked in this recipe. I did not even know that there was okra in it. So it removes all.
I was wondering how did they just take frozen okra and just fry it? Because if they took the frozen okra and let it thaw first and then fried it, then it's going to be extremely slimy. But if you were using frozen okra to fry and you wanted to bread it yourself or whatever, then you can still take the frozen okra. I would just work with it. I would bread it in your, if you're going to put it in a buttermilk and then your flour mixture or cornmeal mixture or whatever you'd like to use, I would do that while it's still frozen and then fry it. It'll have plenty of time in the fryer to be completely thawed out. I think you'll see less slime.
Okay. And then someone says, can you make the roux in advance? If so, how far in advance and how should you store it?
Yeah, you can make roux. I mean, if you're making roux with oil, then you can leave it on your shelf. I mean, it's just, it's nothing that's really perishable. And if you're doing it with butter, I would keep it in the refrigerator. But I mean, it'll last for weeks. Easily.
Let's see, we've got a lot of questions. Please tell me the kind of pan you need to use to make the roux. I think you spoke a little earlier.
You just need a heavy pan, a heavy bottom pan. If you want to do cast iron, it's fine, but you can also use a stainless steel pan, a pot, as long as it has a even heavy bottom. Try to stay away from like lighter aluminum type of pans.
Alrighty, and then someone says, can they use a different type of oil like avocado or?
I would not, because you gotta think it's gonna be, you need something that's gonna be able to handle high heat. And with some of those oils, they'll get to smoking points before your roux is gonna get to the color that she needs to get to.
Does coconut oil work? That's probably very similar to the last answer.
Coconut oil, I would not use because it tastes, it has a flavor to it.
Olive oil as well.
Olive oil as well. Olive oil would, for one, it's too expensive to use for a roux. And then for two, yes, you're gonna have a very strong flavor.
And then someone said they had someone send them a jar of like pre-made roux. Are you familiar with those?
Yeah.
Think of them.
Yeah, you can use it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. I thought you were going to be so against that, honestly. I thought you were going to be
not at all. Because not at all. We was thinking about selling it behind the bar here. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It saves you a step, and it's a big step. And quite honestly, it's not like your roux, like your perfect roux versus my perfect roux won't add any different flavor to the gumbo. It's just gonna do its job. So if you're buying a good roux, then it's just gonna do its job.
Gotcha. Is there a certain brand of andouille sausage you like?
Up here is a little difficult. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think you have a better shot at getting it from some of your local guys like Paulina Market. They do a pretty good andouille. Tempesta Market does andouille. And so, yeah, I would check with them over, or I would just order online. You know, Savoy is a good one. Which is the other one? Cajun fried, Cajun shell, something like that.
Someone said grapeseed oil is great for high heat. Would that be a good option?
What was it?
Grapeseed oil.
Grapeseed?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you gotta try it. You know, like I'm not making a roux with grapeseed oil, but yeah, if it's like do some analogy to a different type of oil, you know, then you know, give it a shot, you know. But you know, I'm like my grandmother taught me how to make gumbo, and she'll probably be looking at me crazy if I told her about some grapeseed oil or anything else. You know? She just turned 92 last week, and so yeah, she'll be like, "What?
Grapeseed, the stuff you use on your skin?" Someone said approximately how long to cook for the chicken to cook or to a shreddable state. I think that's what they're trying to say.
You said what? How long?
Yeah, they're just how long should you cook the chicken for?
Well, I mean, you're gonna have it in there for, you know, at least 20 minutes. You know, depending on if you have thighs with bones in it, you know, which I think are great. You know, you can also use boneless thighs as well, which are gonna cook a little bit faster. But the beauty of gumbo is that you better not be in a rush. But you know, the beauty of it is that, you know, you're tasting this throughout the whole process, you know, and the family is kind of, you know, tasting it, and you're seeing this whole evolution of flavors that happen in the pot. You know, so when you're adding your chicken and things like that, you know, and when you're stirring it, you touch it with that spoon, you're gonna see, you know, it starts to get a little bit of a break to it. But you know, like I said, you just don't want to take it to where it's just shredded, and then you just don't really have, you know, actual pieces of chicken. Some people I've seen that have cut their chicken, like they'll add like diced chicken, you know, to it as well, which is fine. It's gonna cook faster that way. We don't do it that way here. We'll either use, you know, whole like bone-in pieces of chicken, and then once they're done, we'll take them out and pull all the meat off of them. Just because when you make a stock, you use bones, you know, so if we have the bones of the protein going into the gumbo, it's just reinforcing the flavor a little bit further.
All righty, a couple more questions. And let's see. Please show us the pot. Oh, they want to see what the pot looks like right now, Chef.
I mean, yeah, it just looks like soup.
Hot.
Yeah, this kind of looks like, you know, it's a brown soup right now. The keys that you're looking for is going to be the condition of your okra. That's going to tell you when you can proceed. It's when you really get that okra really soft. And then the way you do that is you just take a little piece on your spoon, smash it on the back, you know, like on the pot. If that thing smashes, then it's green light. All right, we go green light. We're gonna add our chicken, you know, and then from that point, you know, adding chicken to an already hot, you know, stew that's simmering, you know, it's the time is gonna start to go by, you know, a lot faster. That's why it is very important that you get it to the state of almost done. The consistency is great, you know, on the tongue. And those of you, when you make it, to understand what I'm really talking about when I say you have to cook the roux off, taste it when you first start. and you're gonna be, oh, what is that? You know, and it's gonna kind of stick on your tongue a little bit. You're gonna, you know, it'll almost taste like very bland, burnt toast, pretty much. And you're gonna think, what are you doing wrong? And it is nothing at all. It's just that it's in the very early stages of what it takes to make a good pot of gumbo.
Someone said they know it's not traditional, but what are some other vegetables they could add into their gumbo?
Other vegetables?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can do there's a vegetable gumbo called gumbo herb that you can look at, which is using some greens. So some like turnip tops, some collard greens, some mustard greens, you know, and that's kind of the vegetarian gumbo. But other than that, you're not gonna see, you know, too many other vegetables that not that I've seen, at least, you know.
Me neither. I've just seen the holy.
Because I mean, you gotta understand too. Like this is a classic dish, you know, and so even in New Orleans, you know, you'll see rabbit gumbo or you know like turtle and something or you know like, but you're not gonna see too many crazy renditions because down there it gets to where it's you know disrespectful to the classic dish and people be like, why did you do that? You know, like what made you do that to gumbo?
No, really. That is the reaction you would probably get down there. I think
that's why you also in New Orleans you'll see more of you know you'll see a lot of bisques and you know some stews and things like that that kind of allows you to you know play around with other things. But some of the untouchables in New Orleans is gumbo is one. You know, jambalaya I would say is one because the Cajuns and the Creoles both have a way of doing there. And they just kind of, you know, the proteins can change up, but the overall technique and everything is all the same.
Someone is asking if they've seen something called filet, you know, gumbo filet seasoning. What is that?
Filet is ground sassafras leaf. And so filet too is a thickener. And so you can use filet. I don't use filet in my gumbo just because I don't like it. But it's not that I don't even like it. It's just that when you have roux and okra, you don't need filet. Filet will thicken your gumbo if you add it at the end. Some folks like to add filet on top of their gumbo, like before they eat it, they sprinkle it on like you would season with salt or whatever. But filet has sassafras has you know healing powers, and so people will drink it in teas and things like that. And in New Orleans, even though people think that all our food is spicy, it's really not all spicy. It's more flavor than spice. And you'll see folks that eat gumbo and you're sweating, but it's not spicy. And a lot of times that is from the filet. That's from sassafras. Sassafras will make you sweat. That's why you get sick. Drink some sassafras tea. It'll make you start sweating that stuff out.
Thank you for answering that. I think we've answered everything pretty much. Any more questions, guys? We're going to be tasting some gumbo soon. I know you guys are not getting to taste it here right now, but we have the link and chat box is also on the blog. You guys can click the link and pick all the ingredients up at your local Mariano's and you can make some gumbo. I've already made some here, so maybe I'll make another batch. Oh, you guys see that?
This is a completed one. I wish I could give you a better angle of this here. But you know, the chicken pieces, here, let me show you. The chicken pieces are still nice and you know, they're not huge, but they're kind of broken up. That's hot. You know, naturally. I didn't have to chop them up or anything, and that'll happen. You know, so you got a good bit of sausage in there. We got a crab and a crawfish and everything in here. Now, people ask when to add shrimp. Now, shrimp will cook in here in 15 to 20 minutes, easily. you know, and I wouldn't add it in much sooner than that. You know, I don't like, you know, cooking the crap out of it. And always add raw shrimp. Don't add pre-cooked shrimp. I saw some recipes that do call for pre-cooked shrimp, and I really don't know why they would do that, because you want all of those juices that the shrimp will let out once cooked to go into your gumbo. If you were gonna add filet to your gumbo, you would add filet now. You would add filet, well, not right now. You would add it at the end after you add your shrimp, would be when filet would go into your gumbo. It doesn't have a strong flavor of filet, but it too, like okra, it has a certain slimy element to it. So if you just took filet and some water and you mix it together, it'll be very slimy paste. Like you lift up the spoon, it'll be like stringy slimy. But that doesn't stick around when you cook it. That goes away.
Let's see. What kind of fish I use in gumbo?
What was that? I'm sorry?
They said what kind of fish can they use in gumbo?
Fish?
Yeah.
Fish doesn't go in gumbo. You can do more of like a Creole bouillabaisse. Was gonna be more of what you want to do, because there's no fish that you're gonna add to gumbo that's not gonna completely, you know, gumbo's a long stew, you know, and so there's no fish that you're gonna add to gumbo that's not gonna, you know, completely break down to being nothing. Now, if you had gumbo and you wanted to add some diced fish to it or some sort like that towards the end, you would be able to do that, I guess, but you wouldn't be able to cool it and reheat it because your fish would be done. It'll be all broken up.
It would also probably take over the entire flavor if you put it in. It really would. Yeah.
I mean, I can say, you know, things that should never really be in gumbo. You know, any sort of fish, like snow crabs, like that type of crab. Now, if you had like blue crab pieces, you know, then they have a harder shell they could withstand. But you know, I see a lot of, you know, like snow crab clusters, you know, sticking out of gumbo, and that is just it's not like we do down there in New Orleans.
Gotcha.
Also, keep in mind those crabs are normally steamed on a boat, and so they have a fairly high sodium content to a lot of them. And so you gotta take that into consideration too if you do use it, just to adjust your seasoning.
What would you drink with gumbo?
Ooh, hurricanes, sazeracs, beers. Gumbo's universal when it comes to the cocktail pairing.
Heavy on the hurricanes, or if you're like when
frozen daiquiris.
Yep. Someone said beer. You said beer. Yep.
Yeah. Because see, gumbo is a year-round thing for us. Even though it gets hot in New Orleans, people eat gumbo year-round. And in the summertime, you'll see that gumbo is normally a little bit thinner in consistency. Whereas in the wintertime, you'll get normally a thicker gumbo that just, you know, tends to be a little bit more hearty.
Let's see. I think we're ready to taste some gumbo. I'm about to taste my gumbo until.
You know, in a lot of places in New Orleans, a lot of people's homes, if you eat gumbo with a local, a lot of times they'll put potato salad with the gumbo, a little bit of rice, a little bit of potato salad inside the bowl. And we do it like that at Ina May. And some people are a little freaked out by it, but it's a classic.
Zoom needs a taste option. I agree. It does need a taste option. The gumbo will spoil if you put it in the fridge too soon.
Yes, that's any food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever, if you do ever refrigerate anything that is still a little bit warm, leave it uncovered. Do not put plastic wrap or do not put your Tupperware lid on it and then put it in, because it slows down the cooling process, which allows it to live in the bacteria danger zone for way too long, which gets dangerous.
Can't put that big old pot in your fridge.
No, you spoil everything in your fridge. You just drop it down too fast, What I suggest is if you have a sink big enough, you're gonna take your metal pot, you fill your sink up with some ice water and just set this pot right inside that ice water there and stir your gumbo a few times, and it'll cool it down fast enough that way. It's a water bath. All right, so have some rice in my bowl here.
Yeah.
I thought I had some potato salad, but it was pretty crazy at Ina May this weekend, so we ran out of pretty much everything.
I gotta try salad with it. I haven't had it like that.
It was pretty insane.
No, I don't.
So we have our bowl of gumbo here.
Let me get mine. Oh, look at that. Look at that, y'all. So good. So good. I will go to Ina May on a Wednesday, Thursday night, and I will get a drink and a bowl of gumbo and a biscuit. That is my favorite. That's my order.
We
have bingo this week too.
You said what?
I said we have bingo this week, so it's a good time for y'all to come and get some gumbo and play some bingo.
Yes, and they have a ton of events going on at Frontier and Ina May, so you guys need to make sure you check out those restaurants, see what's going on for Mardi Gras. It is a whole party there. Really, it really is like a party every single day. There's something going on almost every single day up there. All righty. And any more questions any last questions, you guys, before we head out? The link again is going to be on Mariano's blog, which we'll leave in the chat one more time. We're also going to post it socially on our Instagram tomorrow. So guys, go to our Instagram tomorrow. You'll be able to see where the link is. And we're also people want to be your taste dummy. You can't be a taste dummy if you come to this restaurant.
Yeah, come on in.
You can taste as much as you want. Last question, Chef. What is a good brand of shrimp to buy?
Try to stay in the Gulf. That's a really good question. Try to stay as domestic as possible. There's some good Gulf that's coming out of you'll be able to find some out of Mexico and even Ecuador, but because the Louisiana stuff is really hard to find up in the Midwest at least, but stay in the Gulf with the shrimp if possible.
We have a Gulf shrimp at Mariano's. We do.
What?
Yeah, I think that's the only one I actually purchased. I have to look at it. And then someone says to go back to the roux. If you are browning the flour in the oven, does the final product taste different when done compared to the traditional making the roux?
A little bit, but it's still you're doing the same thing. You're just getting to there a different way. You're trying to caramelize your flour, and you can do that within the oil, or you can do that in a dry state, and then you're still adding it to the oil, so it's still gonna have to go through some of that process as well.
Got it.
The person who showed me that trick was an old school New Orleans chef, and so if he gave it the stamp of approval, then I definitely wouldn't turn my nose up at it either.
Someone says, do you know any restaurants in San Francisco, Oakland, where they can get good gumbo? We got people from all over, so all of them aren't able to grab some gumbo.
I do not know, but if you find one, let me know, because I'm coming to.
You'll come check it out.
I'm coming to check it out. Yeah,
For this-
I love San Francisco. Yeah.
We got Toronto all the way here. That's
Yo.
Houston.
Yeah, Toronto. I've never been to Toronto. I've been to Montreal.
Been in Toronto. How much flour and oil? Someone said we're gonna put the link is in the chat box to the full recipe. It's also on Mariano's blog. And
It kind of ends up being equal partish.
okay. All righty. So thank you again so much. Thank you to everyone who participated. Thank you to everyone who joined. Again, we are kicking off Mardi Gras. Please send us pictures if you guys do go ahead and make this recipe. We want to see what they look like. I know people said they failed at making gumbo before. It is not an easy process. The main thing is just don't rush it. Again, congrats to Chef Jupiter, our newest chop winner. And he has so many other accomplishments. We are literally sitting with a celebrity right now. And in a few years, we won't be able to get him on any calls like this because he'll be too busy. So thank you so much for giving us this time. Again, there's going to be a ton of events going on this week. Chef Jupiter is actually going to be on WGN this Wednesday. So you guys should check that out. And check out his restaurants Frontier and Ina May as well.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
All right, y'all.